Moonlit Howls. The terrifying tale of Sue, Gilbert, and the lycanthropic curse. Gilbert had always been a skeptic when it came to the supernatural. Werewolves, vampires, ghosts, he thought they were all just myths and stories that people used to scare each other. Until one day, when he met Sue, everything changed. Sue was a beautiful woman with long, curly red hair and bright green eyes. Gilbert met her at the local bookstore where she worked. They quickly hit it off, and soon they were spending all their free time together. One night, they were walking in the woods, enjoying the peace and quiet. Suddenly, they heard a loud howl. At first, they didn't pay much attention to it, thinking it was just a stray dog. But then they heard it again, and this time it was closer. Gilbert started to feel uneasy, but Sue assured him that it was just some wild animal that was probably scared of them. They continued walking until they came across a clearing. In the center of the clearing was a large, black wolf that was staring at them, its eyes glowing in the moonlight. Gilbert froze, staring at the wolf in disbelief. He had never seen anything like this before. The wolf started to approach them, and Sue took a step back, grabbing Gilbert's hand. They tried to run, but the wolf was too fast. It caught up to them quickly, and before they knew it, they were face to face with the monster. The wolf stood on its hind legs and started to transform, its body contorting and changing until it was a man. A man with long, sharp claws and teeth like fangs. Gilbert and Sue were horrified. They had stumbled upon a pack of werewolves. The pack surrounded them, trapping them in the clearing. Gilbert and Sue tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They were at the mercy of the werewolves. The pack leader, a massive beast with white fur, approached them, sniffing them. Gilbert could feel his heart pounding in his chest, his body shaking with fear. He couldn't believe that what he had always thought was a myth was now standing right in front of him. The pack leader let out a loud growl, and the other werewolves started to transform as well. They formed a circle around Gilbert and Sue, closing in on them. Gilbert tried to fight back, but he was no match for the strength of the werewolves. They were overpowered and quickly subdued. The pack leader approached Gilbert and whispered in his ear, "You will make a fine addition to our pack." Gilbert and Sue were taken to the werewolf's den deep in the woods. They were chained up and left to rot. Gilbert couldn't believe what was happening to him. He was going to become a werewolf. Sue was by his side, trying to calm him down, but he could see the fear in her eyes too. They were both going to die, and there was nothing they could do about it. Days turned into weeks, and Gilbert could feel the change starting to happen. He could feel his body changing, his senses becoming sharper. The full moon was only a few days away, and he knew that he would transform into a beast like the others. Sue was still there by his side, but she was becoming weaker with each passing day. Gilbert knew that he had to do something, anything to save them both. On the night of the full moon, Gilbert's transformation was complete. He was now a werewolf, just like the others. The pack was excited to have a new member, and they set out into the woods to hunt. Gilbert could feel the bloodlust pulsing through him. He couldn't control himself. He was a monster. As they ran through the woods, they came across a group of hikers. The pack pounced on them, tearing them apart with their claws and teeth. Gilbert was horrified by what he had done. He had killed innocent people. He looked at Sue, who was still chained up, her eyes closed. He knew that he had to do something. He waited until the others had gone back to the den before he approached Sue. He whispered in her ear, telling her that he was going to get them out of there. She opened her eyes, and for the first time in days, Gilbert saw hope in them. He managed to break the chains that held them, and together they made their escape into the woods. But the pack was on their trail, and they were closing in fast. Gilbert could hear their howls, their footsteps pounding the ground. He knew that they didn't have much time. They ran through the woods, trying to find a place to hide. But the pack was relentless. They were getting closer and closer. Finally, Gilbert and Sue stumbled upon an abandoned cabin. They ran inside and locked the door behind them. Gilbert could hear the pack outside, snarling and clawing at the door. He knew that they wouldn't be able to hold it forever. He looked around the cabin, searching for a way out. But there was none. The pack broke down the door, and the werewolves flooded into the cabin. Gilbert and Sue tried to fight back, but again, they were no match for the strength of the werewolves. The pack leader approached Gilbert, its eyes glowing with hunger. Gilbert could feel its hot breath on his face, and he knew that this was the end. He closed his eyes, waiting for the inevitable. But then, something strange happened. The pack leader started to convulse, its body shaking uncontrollably. It fell to the ground, writhing in pain. One by one, the other werewolves started to follow suit. They were writhing in agony, their bodies contorting and shaking. Gilbert and Sue watched in horror as the werewolves died, their bodies changing back into normal men. They were saved by the moonflower, a rare and powerful plant that only bloomed on the night of the full moon. Gilbert had stumbled upon it while he was searching for a way out of the cabin. The moonflower was deadly to werewolves, and the pack had unknowingly wandered into a field of them. It was a stroke of luck that saved their lives. But Gilbert knew that he couldn't live with what he had done. He had killed innocent people, and he would never be able to escape the guilt he felt. He left the cabin, leaving Sue behind. He wandered into the woods, looking for a way to end his life. But the pack leader had cursed him. He was now a werewolf, and he would transform on the night of the full moon for the rest of his life. Gilbert tried to fight it, but it was no use. He couldn't control himself. He became a monster, just like the ones he had tried to run from. He spent the rest of his life wandering the woods, a beast haunted by the past. He was a reminder of the horrors that lurked in the darkness, a warning to those who dared to venture too far into the unknown. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and tell us what you think in the comments. And of course, don't forget to subscribe.